If you're a regular here on The Prepper Historian, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to learn is one of those rare overlaps where military history, fieldcraft and practical survival all sit on the same table. Today, we're digging into a World War II tool that quietly shaped how soldiers lived, fought and endured in unforgiving terrain. It didn't make headlines. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't end up as a museum centerpiece. But it absolutely deserves your attention because it can transform any wild piece of ground into a functional survival camp even today. Let's get into it. Why this unassuming World War II tool mattered far more than people realize. When you study World War II beyond the big battles and famous equipment, you start to understand that daily survival hinged on small, reliable tools. The entrenching tool, better known as the E-tool or folding spade, was one of those essentials. Soldiers carried it everywhere, relied on it constantly, and used it for far more than digging foxholes. A soldier's rifle kept him alive in a firefight, but his E-tool kept him alive every other hour of the day. And that's why serious preppers and historians study it, because it was the backbone of fieldcraft long before survival gear became an industry. How soldiers used the E-tool to instantly control terrain and create safety. One of the biggest advantages soldiers gained from the E-tool was the ability to shape the ground quickly. In a survival context, that's honestly priceless. The moment you can alter the environment, you gain control over it. World War II infantrymen dug firing positions, drainage channels to redirect rainwater, improvised sump pits to keep mud away from their sleeping areas, and low-profile shelters reinforced with cut branches. These weren't theoretical uses, they were tasks done under fire, in the cold, in forests, deserts and snowfields. For a modern survivalist, the same principle applies. You can arrive in a patch of forest with nothing but your pack, and with an E-tool, turn that spot into a safe and efficient camp within 30 minutes. Clear a flat sleeping area. Dig a fire pit with proper airflow. Carve a drainage trench so you don't wake up swimming. Shape a windbreak by stacking earth in front of your tarp setup. The tool hasn't changed much since World War II because it didn't need to. The usefulness was already perfected. The folding design truly revolutionized both portability and effectiveness out in the field. Earlier armies, well, they lugged around full-length shovels. These were awkward, heavy, and honestly a bit of a nuisance. But during the Second World War, militaries introduced folding or collapsible spades so that every soldier could carry one without it becoming a burden. The hinged design meant the tool could be used in multiple configurations, fully extended as a shovel, folded at a right angle as a hoe, or locked in a compact shape for transport. German, American, Soviet and British variations might have differed a bit, but they all shared the same philosophy. A tool that never leaves the soldier's side is a tool that saves lives. Even today, a folding E-tool still earns its place in the pack for exactly the same reason. Suppose you're setting up a stealth camp while hiking a remote ridge. You don't want a bright fire visible from a distance, so you use the folded hoe position to dig a Dakota fire hole. That design, which is still taught in modern survival training, creates a concealed fire with excellent draft. With the very same tool, you can carve out a trench to anchor your tarp or even chop through stubborn roots when preparing a shelter site. It's not glamorous, but, well, it's fieldcraft at its purest form. Let's talk about how soldiers during the Second World War improvised tools, traps, and fortifications with the E-tool. What really elevates the entrenching tool from merely useful to truly essential is just how many secondary roles it could fill. Soldiers used it as a hammer when driving stakes, as a scraping tool when preparing defensive positions, and even as an improvised axe when sharpening the edge wasn't an option. Soviet troops were known to use it for close-quarters combat, where its compact metal blade acted much like a hatchet. American GIs used it for cutting sod, burying waste, building field ovens, and prepping camouflage. Honestly, it was the Swiss Army knife of the battlefield. A modern survivalist can apply these same principles. If you need to build a quick shelter, you can use the E-tool to cut small poles, strip bark, or carve anchor notches. If you're purifying water using a pit method, you can dig a seep hole near a riverbank. If you're constructing a snare line, the flat of the blade can tamp soil to guide animals toward your noose. None of these tasks require fancy gear. Just understanding how much mileage you can get out of one reliable piece of steel. Why mastering this tool gives you discipline and fieldcraft few people practice anymore. Modern gear can make preppers lazy. We love new gadgets, but the truth is that the soldiers of the Second World War achieved more with less because they mastered the basics. An E-tool teaches patience, efficiency, and respect for the ground beneath your boots. When you can walk into untamed terrain and build comfort, safety, and concealment with just a folding spade, you're operating on a level that most so-called experts never reach. Try it. Take your E-tool to a wooded patch, give yourself 1 hour, and create a functional micro-camp using only the tool and what nature offers. Build a seat, create a sheltered fire pit, flatten a bed, shape a windbreak. You'll feel the connection to those Second World War infantrymen instantly, and you'll understand why the military still issues a version of the same tool today. If this deep dive into historical fieldcraft taught you something new, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this video with someone who appreciates real, practical knowledge grounded in history.